Welcome to another episode of the Goon Intelligence Sports Podcast Show. Today I got a doozy for y'all. Today we're going to be talking about the Steve Smith and Jerry Jeudy feud that went on last night during the Denver Broncos and Kansas City Chiefs game. If this is your first time tuning into this channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please share the video as well. Help us grow the channel. I'm on the road to 200 subscribers, and hey, we're growing. We're getting up there. But let's just jump right into it. I don't want to waste your time. I just want to give you my thoughts on what is going on. I've heard different people speak on it today, and everybody seems to be siding with Steve Smith on this, and that's unfortunate because I don't think there's anybody that's right in this situation. There could be some immaturity. Well, there is some immaturity on both sides, including the NFL Network, because I don't think Steve realized that at the time when he was doing the berating of Jerry Jeudy after attempting to talk to him and being turned down or whatever. And I'm gonna play the clip for you in a minute, but I just think he was he was put into a position where there would be no winner, right? And the NFL Network used him. They absolutely used him to bring down a player. But let's just jump right into this clip, and then I'm going to share my thoughts. Now, I don't know how this works. I'm just going to play the audio. I don't necessarily want to get a strike on my channel, so I'm not going to upload the video and have NFL Network come and, say that I used their footage without their consent. So I'm just going to play the audio, and we can both listen to it together, and then I'll give you my opinion on this. So let's play this clip.
Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy was walking by and Steve called out to him, and he got a different reaction.
I called out to him because on my podcast, Cut to It, I just talked about guys that maybe have not showed up in a way or in a manner. And so the word that I've used to describe him in the past was a JAG, just a guy.
Just a guy.
When I saw him, he's playing well. I wanted to say to him face to face, like, hey, I know I said some things in the past I probably shouldn't have, and I'm sorry. That's what I wanted to say to him. His response, Mike Robb, was ninja.
Ninja.
Yes, I'm using the word ninja.
That's we all know what that means.
I don't
right?
mess with you, and it was a curse word. And so I was like, all right, and then he repeated it. So I'll say it again. I'm sorry that I said you were a JAG, just a guy who's an average wide receiver they use a first-round pick on, that isn't doing anything. I hope today that you actually show up in a way that you haven't showed up in the last couple of years since they drafted you. So if you ever got a problem with Agent 89, I'm sorry for saying that you're an average wide receiver that they eventually will move on. And when teams call me and asking, should they trade for you, I will say no. Don't trade for Jerry Jeudy because he's mentally unable to handle constructive criticism from people who watch specifically, can he be a wide receiver? He can be a wide receiver. He's a tier 3.
Tier 3.
Go back into the studio. I'm done now. Thank you.
Brett? Yes! 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 I love it. Oh my goodness, the football gods have blessed us, guys. Thank you. This is so awesome. Broncos.
Okay, it's not a lot to unpack, but let's just go through some of the stuff that he said. So Steve attempted to apologize to Jerry Jeudy for some of the comments and some of the how he analyzed or said some things about Jerry Jeudy on his podcast. So we have to bring into account and give context that Steve has already said this. And Steve has said this in public, right? Because the podcast goes out to the masses. This is not just me talking to my phone in this case or the camera, right? I'm talking to my subscribers, which happen to be on my level about 188 people last time I checked. Steve has thousands of people that more than likely tunes into his podcast. So he has a bigger and broader audience and a lot of fans that probably check him out, right? So we have to bring that into context. So Steve has said this in public, right? Jerry Jeudy, we have to understand where Jerry Jeudy is as far as when Steve is trying to apologize. So Jerry Jeudy is getting ready to play a football game. And we all know about the mentality that it takes to get yourself pumped up or ready to play said football game. So in that space, Steve is trying to apologize. So Jerry is more than likely is not focused on Steve or really doesn't care to engage him at this point. Plus, he's already angry, more than likely at his lack of performance. And Steve is bringing light to that with his criticisms of Jerry Jeudy. So Jerry tells him basically, you know what, dude, I don't mess with you. For like, you know, because we're gonna keep it PG. Ninja, I don't mess with you. But we all know what he said, right? And he said it to him twice. Steve said that. He repeated it. So he said, so he meant what he said at that time. So if Steve is apologizing and Jerry is not being receptive of his apology, then Steve comes back and apparently his co-host is made aware of this situation and he sets it up like bowling pins. And they know Steve is emotional. They know, this is why I say they used him. They know Steve is emotional, and they know that Steve is more than likely did not take kindly to being told, Ninja, I don't mess with you. So what do the NFL Network do for content and for ratings and entertainment? They put the cables in Steve's back, winds him up like a toy, asks him a question about how did it go, and Steve let loose. You heard it. Told him that he tried to apologize for calling Jerry Jeudy just a guy, a JAG, and he's sorry that he said that to him, and they wasted a draft pick, and he hopes he I'm paraphrasing, but we all heard it. He hopes he steps up like he's never stepped up before. Look, man. I know we've all heard this, and my mother has said it to me time and time again. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. I'm gonna say it again. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Steve has made this personal, and I don't blame Jerry for not accepting his apology. Just because someone apologizes to you doesn't mean you have to accept it, especially if, one, you don't know them, two, you don't owe them anything. You don't. Could Jerry have handled this differently? Yes, Jerry's being sensitive. He is. But at the same time, it was a personal criticism. Steve made it personal. And obviously, the apology was not meant. It was not sincere, because after it's rejected, you go on national TV and double down on what you said to him. We got to understand that Jerry is a human, Steve is a human. Steve attempted to do something, but I really believe it wasn't coming from a good place. It was more than likely just for content, because the cameras are everywhere. And that sound bite of Jerry maybe accepting Steve's apology was probably going to be used as one of these growth moments that Steve has tried to portray himself with, that he's grown as a player or as a person, because we all know Steve is very hot-headed. He was very hot-headed in the league. He will fight you. There's no secret about that. So I'm in the same way that he tried to use that moment more than likely as a prop to show his growth. Then he comes back 15, 20 minutes later and talks about how the media and the black on black crime and he's not going to feed into the negative stereotype and berating and bringing another black man down. Well, Steve, too late. Too damn late. You already did it. You've already did it. And my thing is this. If you're trying to apologize to someone, right? You're trying to apologize. What you did when you talked about them was in public. It was on your podcast. How about you apologize on your podcast first, then give an in-person apology? Because when you talk about someone, right, and you talk about them in a bad light, the redemption needs to be just as loud. Don't apologize in private when you talked about them in public. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not being the bigger man or whatever. It's just I don't know what Steve expected from Jerry Jeudy. It's as if that Steve carries this lil man syndrome around with him, and other people are supposed to be intimidated by him because of his reputation preceding him, that he is very emotional, or he's hot-headed, or he'll fight you, or he's a badass per se, or whatever. And you talk and you go on these pundits YouTube pages and you check them out, and the first thing they say about Steve Smith is that he'll fight you, that he's really like that he's a dog or whatever. And they try to compare Steve's stats to Jerry's as if to say, okay, Steve has a point. He can critique you and, as a wide receiver. He absolutely can. But where it crosses the line is when you make it personal, right? When you make it personal. I'm just of the opinion that no one is above reproach. I get that. No one is. But these analysts, and the best of them, right? I'm talking about the best of them. They have a way of navigating and not making it personal. I'm not talking about Skip Bayless, because if there's anything that Skip does, is he makes it personal. He calls you out of your name. He makes up silly nicknames for people and whatnot. He's as personal as it gets. But there are some people out there that do not make it personal. Like, I talk about Stephen A. Smith a lot, but he always, before he talks about a player, he always builds them up and says, we know this guy is this, and he's a baller, or he does this and does that, and then he lays into him, because his criticism is not coming from a personal standpoint. He's just critiquing the game or how they played at that particular time. I don't know if Steve Smith has mastered that. Obviously he hasn't. And I just wished at the time that when, because Steve didn't have to tell us blow by blow detail of what happened when he was trying to talk to Jerry Jeudy. He could have just told us that, hey, I went over to apologize. Jerry wasn't feeling it. He didn't accept my apology. That's okay. We move on. That's on him. If it was really meant. But to come back and talk about the man even more and double down on it, and then send it back to the studio, and then the people in the studio are cackling like hyenas. These people are all grown now. This is crazy. They're all grown. This is some immature high school BS. I'm calling it like I see it. I'm calling it like I see it. Two things can be right. Steve could have been right in his assessment and critique of Jerry Jeudy, right? And Jerry Jeudy does not have to accept his apology. It's his decision on if he wants to accept someone's apology when he's been done wrong. Period, point blank. Well, that's been my thoughts on this situation. I just hope that these two probably get together. They probably will. They have mutual friends. They have mutual people that know them both. They'll probably get them on the phone, have a conversation to try to smooth this out, because it's really unnecessary. It's really unnecessary. It's not necessary at all. And be honest with you, Jerry Jeudy isn't playing with all-stars on this team. It's not like people around him are playing well and he's not. It's a team game. Football is an absolute team game. The quarterback has to throw to the wide receiver. The wide receiver has to catch the passes from the quarterback. And they have to be catchable balls, right? So it goes hand in hand. It's not a situation where Jerry Jeudy can pass the ball to himself. He can't. So we have to be mindful of that as well. But this has been my thoughts. This has been another episode of the Goo Intelligence Sports Podcast Show. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, blow it up. Let's get up to 200 subscribers. Hopefully, going back to my Saints. Let's talk about the Saints right quick. Saints play the Houston Texans in Houston this weekend. Sunday, I gave a prediction on the score. I think the Saints will win that particular game. I'm looking forward to see how C.J. Stroud plays against a top 5 defense in the league. And I'm checking to see how the Saints respond to playing a quarterback they don't necessarily have film on. We've seen how Saints play rookie quarterbacks in the past. But this has been another episode of the Goo Intelligence Sports Podcast Show. Look, you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you decided to share it with me, and I appreciate you for that. Until next time, peace.